Hi, sweet virtual friends. Welcome back to Social Studies. I'm so glad that you guys are here. Today we are going to be going over the Revolutionary War. This is the time after the Declaration of Independence was signed, because after we signed our Declaration of Independence, that wasn't just how we got our freedom. We had to work for it. We couldn't just sign something and have it just magically come to us. If only things were that easy. However, it was not. So we are going to go over the very important war that happened right after the Declaration of Independence. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we are going to read aloud the Social Studies Weekly. We're going to read the Revolutionary War section. I am also providing a screenshot of this section for you guys so that you can refer back to it when you guys are doing your assignment, and just so that you can see it, since I know that we're having problems with seeing our Social Studies Weekly in Clever. So no worries, I screenshotted it for you. Hopefully you guys can see it. Something else wrong with our lovely technology. All right, so let me share my screen with you and we will get started, my lovelies. All right, here we go. So we are in the middle section of our Social Studies Weekly, week 6, and we are going to just read over the Revolutionary War. So I would like you guys to pay attention to the specifics about the British Army and the Continental Army. So if you have your notebook or your paper and pencil, definitely write some notes if I point anything out to you. So I'm going to read the italic sentence up here. The colonists soon found out that signing the Declaration of Independence was the easiest part of winning independence from Great Britain. They would also have to fight for their freedom. The Revolutionary War lasted from 1775 to 1783. The small versus the mighty. At the beginning of the Revolutionary War, it seemed as though Great Britain might never be beaten. They won nearly every small battle at first. The British had a large navy with many warships. Great Britain continued to build ships throughout the entire Revolution. They also had a well-trained professional army. So Great Britain, hold on. Of course, doesn't want to. So right here, Great Britain continued to build ships throughout the entire Revolution. They also had a well-trained professional army. These soldiers were used to obeying commands quickly. The King of England paid the British soldiers for their service, and he expected them to work hard at all times. The British Army also had good equipment. Every soldier had a uniform, a long-barreled musket gun, and a sword-like bayonet to attach to the end of their rifles. In addition to the British Army, the King hired Germans to fight on their side. So my friends, anything that I'm highlighting is just important things that I want you guys to either make a mental note on or actually write down and make notes on so that it'll help you with doing your assignment. Some African Americans, American Indians, and Loyalists also took Great Britain's side during the war. The King and Parliament were confident that their soldiers would end the uprising of colonists very quickly. The Continental Army began with about 15,000 volunteers. So now we are focusing on the Continental Army. In the first large paragraph, we were talking about Great Britain's army. Now we are talking about the Continental Army, which is the army filled with all the colonists. George Washington worked hard to train the volunteers, which included many African Americans. Other countries became allies, meaning friends, with the Continentals. French soldiers volunteered to fight against their British enemies. So other countries became allies and friends with the Continentals. For example, the French soldiers. Even women joined the army as cooks and caretakers for the soldiers. Some women even fought in battles. Washington made sure his troops trained together and could fight together as a unit. He gave speeches to the soldiers to boost their confidence. The colonist navy was very small compared to the British fleet. Most of the Navy's ships were large fishing boats that carried small cannons. The Continentals were a small group, but they were determined to win. One big advantage the Continentals had against the Redcoats was that they were on their home soil. So they were in their own territory. The British Army and Navy often had to wait months for ships to deliver supplies to them across the Atlantic Ocean. So this was why it was a huge advantage for the Continental Army being on their home soil, because they were able to get supplies a lot faster than the British Army was. When the goods did finally arrive, the Continentals and their French allies would often attack the ships and capture the supplies. So when the ships did finally arrive for the British Army with their supplies, the Continentals and the French would attack the ships and take their supplies from them. So the British were also concerned about colonies in other parts of the world. Those colonies needed protection. With all of the British Army, Navy, and money tied up in the American colonists, lots of things could go wrong. So the colonies that were controlled by Great Britain were also going to need protection from the colonists in case something went wrong. So the Battle of Saratoga. By mid-1777, the British were feeling very confident. They continued to believe the Revolutionary War would end with a British victory. The Battle of Saratoga changed all of that. The British troops marched south from Canada into the colonial regions. Militia from Vermont quickly trapped the Redcoats. Other Continental soldiers rushed to help. Soon the American soldiers forced the British to surrender, which means to give up. After the American victory at Saratoga, the French agreed to support the Continental Army. Then Spain agreed to support the Americans too. The British realized that they had a real fight on their hands. This changed the way that they had been fighting the war. They decided to start fighting in the southern colonies. Determination at Valley Forge. The Continental soldiers felt a very strong need to defeat the British. They believed they were defending their rights. They often talked about the ideas in the Declaration of Independence. Many soldiers felt death was a small price to pay for their freedom. During the winter of 1777 and 1778, conditions at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, tested the soldiers' determination. Washington soldiers were camped there in ice and snow. So this is still the Continental Army. They were cold, tired, and hungry, and many of the soldiers had worn their uniforms to rags. Some of the men didn't even have shoes on their feet. More than 2,000 men died from illnesses or freezing conditions. Diseases such as smallpox and typhoid fever killed many men. But the Continental Army would not give up. That is also a very important aspect in there. Washington lived with the men under the same harsh conditions. All winter, he had a German soldier, Frederick von Steuben, continue to train the men. By the time spring arrived, the Continental Army was stronger and more determined than ever. The Great Battle at Yorktown. Over the course of the Revolutionary War, soldiers fought many battles. The British won some and the Continental Army won others. The final big battle of the war was the Battle of Yorktown in October of 1781. Earlier in the year, British troops had marched to the coast of Virginia. They were hoping to reach their own supply ships, but French warships cut them off. Washington and his men hurried down from the north with the help of French soldiers. The Continentals trapped the British at the port of Yorktown. After days and days of cannon fire, the British surrendered. The Continental Army had won a very important battle. The Treaty of Paris. After Yorktown, the British were not sure they wanted the war to go on. They were fighting expensive battles with Spain, France, and the Continentals. Fighting continued anyway until September 3rd, 1783, when officials signed a set of agreements called the Treaty of Paris. The treaty said that America would be an independent nation. The British kept Canada, but gave up much land from the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi River. So this, if I can highlight it, this is very important just because this is kind of the final moments in us becoming an independent nation. Many loyalists and African Americans who had fought for Great Britain left the colonies. They knew that they would be seen as traitors or enemies. The war was over and America was a brand new nation. So we are finally our own nation. We are through the Declaration of Independence. We have broken it down. We have talked about what has become of the 13 colonies and where we have gone to get to signing the Declaration of Independence. And now we have gone through the Revolutionary War. We read about the battles and just the different moments that they went through during this time and what the end result was, which was us becoming our own nation. This is such an important piece of history, you guys. This is when the United States started to become the United States. It's amazing. It's a great feeling. So what I have for you guys today is for you to be writing journal entries. So you are going to write me a journal entry where you are in the point of view of a soldier that is in the British Army or the Continental Army. You can choose which one that you would like. Obviously, I need you to identify which one so that I know which one you are talking about and so I can make sure that your facts match which army you are using. I provided the screenshot of this section that I just read to you. Because I want you to go look back at it. I want you to be able to look back at it and have it with you while you're writing it. So you can look back and refer to it so you can help pull facts from it. So you are essentially just writing a journal. So you are going to just kind of date your journal, pick a day in this history line, and you are just going to write about a day that one of these soldiers is going through. You are writing in their point of view. So if you are writing in a British soldier's point of view, you can pick any day within this timeline that you have here and just write about what they were going through at that time. You know, you could write in the beginning with how the British soldiers were doing very good. They had their beautiful uniforms. They were having issues with the Continental Army taking the supplies. So you could talk about how they're hungry, but they're dressed really warm and they're all very well trained, but you have to do it in their point of view. So you are using their narrative. It's not in your narrative. It's not you talking. It's you as a colonist in the Continental Army or a British soldier in the British Army. Okay. If you guys have any questions, and hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you guys, I feel like, I don't know. It's one of those days, my little loves, where you just feel like all your words are not making sense. So if you guys have any questions for me, just email me. I am happy to email you guys. I love being able to talk to you guys and stay connected with y'all. I cannot wait for you guys to come back and be here with us and all safe and sound. We are definitely ready for everybody to come back. We miss everybody, even though we haven't gotten to actually meet everybody yet, but we definitely miss just more persons here. So with that being said, my loves, I will see you guys next time. I hope that you have a great rest of the day today. I will see you later. Bye.